morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to Math Expressions with Miss Hasty. We are looking at lesson 6-7 today, which is solving comparison problems. And we have two different kinds of comparison problems that we're going to be looking at. There's additive comparison, where you add or subtract to solve the problem. And then you have multiplicative comparison problems, where you multiply or divide to solve the problem. So you need to be on pages 257 and 258 for our activity pages today. And then again, we'll look at our homework and remembering afterwards. So let's go ahead and start with our directions for the first activity, page 257. For each problem, draw a model and write additive comparison or multiplicative comparison to identify the type of comparison. Then write and solve an equation to solve the problem. Okay, here we go. Number one, newborn baby Lila is 44.5 centimeters tall. Her older brother, Tremaine, is 4 times as tall. How tall is Tremaine? So is this an additive comparison or a multiplicative? Well, because it's talking about 4 times as tall, it's a multiplicative. So that's the first thing you're going to write. Multiplicative. And equation and answer. How are we going to solve that? Well, we know that Lila is 44.5. Her brother is 4 times as tall. So 44.5 times 4. And that's going to give you your answer. Again, make sure that you are looking at what is the measurement. They're talking centimeters, so that is going to be your label. Alrighty, so when you multiply that out, I know I don't always give the answers, but you should get 178 centimeters. So multiply that out, make sure that's the answer you get. Number 2, Al has 1/4 cup of flour and needs 1 5/8 cups of flour. How much more cups of flour does he need? Well, we know how much he has and we know how much he needs, but we got to find the difference to find out how much more. So this is going to be an additive, because it's an additive when you have to add or subtract. Okay, so what do we need? He needs 1 5/8. He has 1/4. So when you subtract that, again, common denominator, that's going to give you how much more he needs, and your label is going to be cup. All right, so when you do your math, you should come up with 1 3/8 cup more. So do the math and make sure that's what you get. Number 3, Imani completed a 200-meter race in 25.06 seconds. Talia completed the same race in 1.17 fewer seconds. How long did it take Talia to complete the race? Well, we have the keyword fewer there, so this is going to be a subtraction problem. So that means it is additive comparison. So adding or subtracting, it would be additive comparison. So you're going to take your 25.06, and Talia was 1.17 fewer seconds. So you're going to get the answer there. And of course your label is going to be seconds. So when you subtract that out, you should get 23.89. Make sure to line up your decimals. Do the math and make sure that's the answer you get. Number 4, a high school has 1,446 students enrolled. A middle school has 1/6 as many students enrolled as the high school. So it's 1/6 of that 1,446. How many students are enrolled in the middle school? This is going to be a multiplicative. Okay, and 1/6 of, which is times 1,446. Do your math, and you should come up with 241 students. Again, make sure you're doing the math. You have the answer. Make sure you can do the math to get the correct answer. All right, let's go ahead and turn to page 258. Do a couple of these problems here. Write an equation, use it to solve the problem, draw a model if you need to. Number 5, at the time of a 2010 Ohio census, 155,416 more people lived in Cincinnati than lived in Dayton. How many people lived in Dayton if 296,943 people lived in Cincinnati? Well, we know how many lived in Cincinnati, and we know that 155,416 more than Cincinnati than Dayton, okay? So what we're going to do here is take that 296,943 and subtract the 155,416 to find out how many lived in Dayton. Okay, and your label is going to be people. All right, when you do your math, you should come up with 141,527. Make sure that that's the answer you get. Number 6, a woodworking machine decreased the thickness of a board. So decrease the thickness of a board, that's important, from 3/4 of an inch to 9/16 of an inch. By what number of inches did the thickness of the board decrease? Okay, so it went from 3/4 down to 9/16. So what was the difference? How much did it decrease by? All right, and when you find your common denominator and do your subtraction, you should get 3/16 inch as your answer. So do the work, make sure you get the correct answer. Number 7, Tyler has saved $14.25 of his allowance. He would like to buy a computer game that costs $15.70 more than the amount he has saved. What is the cost of the game? Well, he saved $14.25 and it costs $15.70 more. So you're going to add those two together to find out how much it costs. And you should get $29.95. Don't forget to line up your decimals and carry when you're adding. Okay. To prepare for a test, Esmeralda studied for 40 minutes. Mallory studied for 50 minutes. How many times as long as Mallory did Esmeralda study? Okay, so we know it's 50, which is Mallory, times how many is 40? That's our situation equation. This is our situation equation. How are we going to solve it? Well, we're solving for an unknown factor. So you're going to take your product divided by the factor you do know, all right, to get your answer. Now remember, you're going to be taking this 40 divided by 50, and you can do that. Remember, we can add a decimal and add a 0 there. So now you can take 50 into 400, but you're going to have a decimal. Okay, remember we can always add a decimal and add a 0. All right, and then when you are finished, you should get 0.8 times. Okay. Number 9, a flagpole has a height of 3.2 meters. A nearby tree has a height of 25.6 meters. When compared with a flagpole, how many times as tall is the tree? Okay, so our situation here is 3.2 times some number. That's going to give you how many times as tall compared to the tree. Okay, so again, you're looking for a factor here. So this is our situation equation. Our solution equation is going to be to take what we have, our product, divided by the factor we do know. That's going to give you how many times as tall. And when you solve the problem, you should get 8 times as tall. Make sure you do the math, solve the problem. There's your answer. Number 10. A school fundraiser collected $776. Sun Woo's class collected 1/16 of that amount. What amount of money was collected by Sun Move's class? So 1/16 of, which is times, the 776. Okay, get your calculation, do the math, and you should come up with $48.50. Checking for understanding. We're just going to fill in these blanks because this is what I started out our lesson with. In additive comparison problems, you add or subtract, okay, to find the unknown amount. In a multiplicative comparison problem, you multiply or divide to find the unknown amount. Okay? All right, let's go to our homework page for 6-7. I'll give you a moment to look that up. Get into your homework page. We'll go through. I'm not going to give you the answers to these, but I certainly will walk you through the equations and what you need to do. Okay? And then you can check back to get your answers in our Google Classroom. Here we go. Write an equation to solve the problem. Draw a model if you need to. Number 1. The Yukon River is 1,980 miles long and twice as long as the Platte River. How many miles long is the Platte River? Okay, so we're just going to take 1,980 divided by 2, and that's going to give us how long the Platte River is, and our label is miles. Number 2, the height of the Empire State Building in New York City is 1,250 feet and 364 fewer feet than the height of the World Financial Center building in Shanghai, China. What is the height of the World Financial Center building? Okay, well, what you're going to be doing is, because it is fewer than that building, the World Financial Center, you're going to take 1,250 and add that 364, and that's going to give you the height of the World Financial Center. And you're going to go back, and their measurement is feet. That's your label. Number 3. Olivia is 48 inches tall and 2/3 as tall as her brother. In inches, how tall is Cameron? Well, we know that 2/3 of something, we don't know what, is 48, because she's 2/3 as tall, but we know how tall she is, right? So we have an unknown factor here. We're going to take that 48 and we're going to divide it by the factor we do know to get the other. Okay? And your label is going to be inches. Find out how tall Cameron is. Number 4, Sydney is shopping for a new television. The cost of a 32-inch flat screen is $149.95. The cost of a 46-inch LED flat screen is $280.04 more. What is the cost of the 46-inch flat screen? You're going to add those two together to get your total cost. And your label is going to be money. Okay, after arriving home from school, Lewis read for 1/3 of an hour. If he reads for 1 1/6 hours after dinner, how many hours will he have read altogether? There's our key word there, all together. So you're going to take 1/3 plus 1 1/6. Line up your fractions, get a common denominator, and your label is hours. Number 6, each morning Jared needs 60 minutes to get ready for school. Kira needs 7/12 as much time as Jared. How many minutes does Kira need in the morning to get ready for school? Okay, so 7/12 of 60, so times 60. Put your whole number over 1, simplify if you can. And how many minutes is your label? Minutes. Number 7, when compared to Tasha, Liam spent 20 additional minutes doing homework. Liam took 45 minutes to complete his homework. How long did it take Tasha? Well, he had 20 minutes additional, and he took 45. So we're going to take our 45 minus the 20, and that's going to give us how many minutes did Tasha spend on her homework. All right, let's go to remembering and make sure we remember how we're doing these problems here. Multiplying decimals here. Again, do your multiplication. Go back and count how many digits are after the decimals. So there are 2 digits after the decimals in number 1. There has to be 2 digits after the decimal in your product. Okay. Number 7 through 12 is dividing. Okay, you have to go back to your notes on dividing decimal on the inside and decimal on the outside. Remember, we move the decimal on the outside to get rid of it and move the decimal on the inside the same amount of spaces and then rewrite. Okay, it looks like all of them are that situation. So move your decimal on the outside first. Move your decimal on the inside. I moved this twice, I moved that twice. Now my new problem is 5 into 450. So 450 divided by 5. Okay, make sure you do that. And let's see here, 13. The gymnasium at Audubon Middle School is 5'6", the height of the 30-foot tall building that is next to the gymnasium. What is the height? So 5'6" of, which is times 30. All right. And your label is going to be feet. 14. Amy's karate instructor has 595 students. That is referring to this 595. 5 times the number of students that her dance instructor has. So we know there's an unknown number times 5 that gives you the 595. How are we going to solve for that unknown factor? You're going to take your 595 divided by 5, and that's going to show you how many students. Okay? Draw a model that shows 5 times 3/5 equals 3. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and draw this one out for you. And it would look something like this. Right? So that shows 3 of the 5 being colored in. And if I did that 5 times, of that particular diagram, 1, 2, 3 colored in, okay, there's 5 of them, and 3 of each 5 is colored in, and that shows a total of equals 3. All right, boys and girls, that concludes 6-7. Thank you for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.